they gave me too much credit on LinkedIn because our next speaker is incredible on LinkedIn. So those of you who are asking me for advice on LinkedIn need to get ready and buckle up. So Shay Rowbottom, I met Shay, was it 5 years ago-ish?
Yeah.
I think 5 years ago. I met Shay in Miami. I hired her as a LinkedIn coach. She was doing LinkedIn video marketing, teaching people how to really boost their branding and social media online. So I have like 43,000 followers on LinkedIn, which seems like a big deal. Shay has 615,000 followers. So she's like more than 10x my LinkedIn brand. But what I've learned from Shay is just pure authenticity. Shay has actually, years ago, she came over to our house. She lives in Florida, but she came over to our house, had dinner with me, my wife, and the kids, and is just an awesome person. She's completely transformed in many ways, personally and professionally. I'm excited for her to share her insights for the next half hour or so before we have lunch. I do want to note that she was voted Forbes #1 social media influencer of 2020. So Shay knows what she's talking about, and she's a personal friend. So let's give a warm welcome to Shay Rowbottom.
Thank you, Chad. What a beautiful full circle moment that we met pretty much right when I had started that business on LinkedIn. And Chad was one of my first clients. And to see everything that he's grown since, and just everything you were saying over there with Kimberly and Danielle. Thank you, ladies. That was great. Just about your blog and waking up first thing in the morning and not really knowing what you're going to post, but being inspired and just being in that energy. Like, that's exactly what we want to see. It's just authenticity. What did I learn this week? What's going on in my life? So thank you for the intro. Thank you for this amazing event. Waves behind me. Never had this at a speaking engagement before, so this is cool. Yeah, I'm Shay, and I have a background in video editing. That's actually how I got into this world many, many years ago. Started a business on Facebook doing video licensing for large blogs. They needed content. Started to figure out from my clients how to actually grow a following. But that first business, it was really stressful. I was very young. I was not partnered with the best people. It was, as I'm sure many of you in this room can relate, one of those experiences you just had to get through to learn, to get to the better business opportunities. But I was very stressed in that first company. And by the time I found LinkedIn, I was just very lost. I felt stuck. I was in business with my romantic partner at the time. Relationship was super stressful. I felt super codependent. And I just remember writing in my diary a prayer. And I didn't piece it together until later. But this is a really cool story. And it's actually cool retelling the story because I took some time off of work, which is also a cool thing you can look forward to when you grow a blog. So this is my first speaking engagement back in 2 years. So I haven't actually told the story in a while, but this is the power of faith, right? It's like, I just wrote a prayer and I remember exactly what I said. I said, "Dear God, please send me a sign that things will get better for me. Please send me a sign that my life will have purpose and won't be in vain. Please help me feel alive again. Amen." That was my prayer. I wrote it out, just like Chad said this morning, write it down, write it into existence. And 1 week after I wrote that, I met a man in Milwaukee, where I'm from and where my first Facebook business I was running at the time was. And he told me that I should get on LinkedIn. And I was like, LinkedIn, that's like so weird. That's like for like recruiters. And, you know, he's like, no, hear me out. Like LinkedIn has video now and you own a video company. You know everything about video. Like just get on there and start making videos. No one's doing it. You'll crush the competition. I was like, okay. So I started to turn the camera around for a change after doing this just for clients for years. And I started to post my own videos and build my own personal brand based on what I had learned all those years working for those Facebook clients. And you know those moments in life where you're just suddenly like on a track and it's just fast and everything's shifting and everything's like, whoa, you're like, I finally feel like I'm moving in the right direction. I'm going where I need to be. And that was month 1, month 2, month 3 of me getting on LinkedIn and making these videos. And I'll get to the content because as Chad said, like it wasn't all about business. It wasn't just me sharing video marketing tips. It was a lot of just me being really raw and authentic, to the extreme in some cases, which some of you know. But I had this moment a month or so later when I was feeling fulfilled. I was feeling purposeful again. And I was making money for that Facebook marketing business at the time. So I was like, how did I get here? Like, what is this? And I suddenly remembered that prayer. And I went back and I was like, oh my gosh, let me like cross check the dates, right? I'm really into like dates and manifestation. So I go and I look and I'm like, I wrote this prayer. And 1 week later, I met Quentin, that guy who I actually hired, and he taught me the ropes on LinkedIn in the beginning. So if that's not a testament to prayer, I don't know what is, because within a year of that whole situation, I actually had my investors buy me out of the company, left, broke up with a boyfriend, went all in on my own. And my first year in business running my LinkedIn video marketing company, I made $1 million all on my own. Thank you, Jesus. Yes. So, and you guys who were over here doing the, I think it's AI and tech. Yeah. You didn't have the amazing ladies over here yet, Kimberly and Danielle, but you will hear from them this afternoon. And they have a lot of knowledge when it comes to social media marketing. I echo their sentiments. Thank you. So for the sake of not diving too into the technical side of like, how do you post? How do you batch content? What are like the, more tangible, mechanical efforts needed to grow a blog on behalf of your business? I'll leave more of that to them, and I am happy to answer questions. We can do a Q&A in a minute here. I also have a workbook that you guys see. I'll get to those questions. That'll help guide you on like just knowing the basics of how to start talking. But I think it's more important for me on this stage to just share what I've learned working with all of these different business owners over the years, all of these CEOs, professionals, is this common theme that people are just really programmed and conditioned to feel like they can't just be themselves. Like it's just it's not enough, it's not safe. And I know for sure that my success on this platform was not because I'm the best marketer out there. I'm actually not. There's actually a lot of things with marketing like I suck at. But why did I get the business? Why did people keep coming to me? Why did people want to join my community, my program, my offerings? It's because I was a safe space, because I was just willing to be so real, raw, and authentic and put it out there that people who are afraid to do that were like, I want to go with her because she gets me. She's going to make me feel safe. She's not going to laugh at me. She's out here being super raw and vulnerable. So this is someone I feel like I can connect to. And I started to learn that over the years is like most of the posts that got the most leads were not about marketing and not about business. It was just about me sharing my story, me talking about topics that I believe in, and just daring to be disliked, which, believe me, a lot of people don't like all the things that I've had to say over the years. But it's worth it. It's worth it. Like, would I want those as clients anyway? So whatever energy you bring into your blog is the energy that's going to come back. So if you're like, I'm going to create this perfect image, this is how I'm going to present myself, this is how everyone's going to see me, this is like the the brand. Great, but you're going to attract that energy back. Remember that. You're going to attract people that are attracted to that, not the real you. And then you have to keep up with that facade day in and day out when you're working with these clients, because that was the energy they came in with. If you dare to be completely honest about things that you might not even think it's safe to be honest about in business, because we're all taught to be so professional and so buttoned up, now you're going to attract people who resonate with that. Now you're going to be more at ease with your clients, more at ease on the calls, etc., because it's like they already know. They already know. And so it's just amazing. Like, I still to this day sometimes grapple with this, like this lack of safety to really just be who I am. And it's like, is it really safe, God? Like, can I really do it? And I always come back to it. Like, the proof is the same for myself and for all of my clients. The more that they open up about the challenges they've been through, what they, as the human being behind the business, have learned and have conquered, the more they get people interested, because people connect with people, not businesses. So, is it important to flex about the skills that you've gained in your industry? Absolutely. And position yourself as an expert who knows what you're talking about in, marketing, video, or in Chad's case, finance. Of course. And that workbook will give you a guide on some things that you can write down to start with topic ideas and mix them in. But I really can't stress enough that it's about being who you are. And building a blog is a personal journey where you're going to be challenged over and over again to put down the filters, to write what you really feel, say what you really want to say, and dare to see where the chips fall. Because, as I said, not everyone's going to like you, and you will turn off business. But it's worth it for the business that you gained. So, in this journey, I just really got so deep down the rabbit hole of like psychology and, why are we like this? Why do I attract, all of these clients over and over again who have just so much fear about posting what they really want to post, like sharing what they really want to share. And I see them come alive throughout the journey of working together. It's like I see them opening up more and more and getting excited about creating from that more childlike place that gets lost somewhere along the journey. And so, surprisingly not, this all just goes back to childhood. It does. This all just goes back to being a kid. Like, somewhere along the journey as a child, you were doing something that made you happy. You wrote a song or did a dance or wrote a play or did some sort of form of self-expression, and you were just in the moment. You weren't self-conscious. You weren't thinking about people looking at you. You were fully present and in flow. It was this magical moment, and then someone came in and just shamed you for that. Someone just disrupted your whole reality. And that was the moment, the first moment as a young, innocent child where you were just like, wait a minute, like, I'm not okay. Like, this isn't safe. And that's where the filters get built. And it's the same thing over and over. I see with every single client is breaking down these filters. Where did this get formed? Where did this deep-seated belief come from where somewhere along the journey you convinced yourself you couldn't just be your full expressed self? It wasn't safe. And for many of us with dysfunctional or even abusive parents, like, it actually wasn't safe. That's the sad thing. It actually wasn't safe. As a child, you had to build these filtration systems and these mechanisms just so you could survive. That's intelligence. That actually is your intuition coming online as a small child to be like, okay, I got to be who they want me to be because I don't want to be rejected from the herd. And that's important. The problem is it flips somewhere along the way. Like, we're adults now, we're free, and God wants us to be our true selves. He wants us to put down those filters. So it is the greatest work of my life. Not going to the gym, not working with clients, not editing video. Like, the greatest work of my life is any moment I'm confronted with, okay, I know what I really want to say right now. I know how I really want to react to the situation. I know what I really want to do here. And then, whoa, there's a filter. There's a fear, and I'm scared, and I don't feel safe. That is my hardest job in my entire life. And I actually think it's the same for everyone. So if you can start to recognize that, your filtration system in any situation, in a business meeting, in a conversation with your spouse, with your friends, or getting ready to post something vulnerable on social media, if you can recognize that as your obstacle, that is what God wants you to conquer. That is what he wants you to get over. That is how we reach our highest, most enlightened selves, is by daring to actually do and say the thing we believe in most. And somewhere along the way, that got lost. And the other side of this that's really unfortunate is a lot of times along the journey, we also become the bully. We now become the one shaming people. Wait a minute, no, you can't do that. Whoa, you can't like be that free. Whoa, be polite. Why? Because someone got us in that, and now we're there, and we feel like everyone else needs to be there too. So it can actually be threatening to see people in their fully expressed, authentic self, because it's simply a trigger and a reminder of what you are not doing. And do you have to deal with the ramifications of people not liking you, calling you weird? Yes. But you get more comfortable with that too. So shame is a human emotion. And shame, which is basically bullying, is actually the lowest of all human vibrations. How many of you are familiar with the work of David Hawkins? Anyone read his? Yeah, okay, yes. So you know where I'm going with this. So David Hawkins developed this map of consciousness. Next time you have a free moment at your computer, just Google map of consciousness, and you can print it out, you can put it on your desk. It's every single human emotion mapped from the lowest vibrational frequency all the way up to the highest. So you've got a middle point here, and you've got all the lower ones like fear, guilt, grief, all the way up to higher ones like joy, love, enlightenment, and there's a breaking point in the middle. But shame is the lowest of any vibration. The only thing lower than shame is death. And you wonder why we have so many issues in society. It's like we are shaming each other to death. There's nowhere lower to go but death. Different political beliefs, different religious beliefs, just constantly beating one another down and shaming them. I mean, we're grown adults, but what do you think that does to a child before the age of 7? Like, no wonder we're programmed. So, that middle line in the map of consciousness, the middle line has one emotion above it and one below it. And it's kind of like a vacuum in either direction. So you can start to look at the emotions and map yourself. Like, where am I right now? Where am I vibrating? Like, oh, okay, how can I move up and move up? Because once you get over the line, it's easy to go all the way to the top. And once you get below the line, it's easy to get sucked down all the way to shame. Anyone ever heard that before? Like, I'm spiraling. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, he knows. Spiraling down all the way to shame and depression. So that middle line, just below it, pride, which is interesting, right? Because it doesn't seem like that low, like pride. And it's not low. It's the one just below the line. So when you get caught up in ego, when you get caught up in feeling super full of yourself, etc., that pride is actually dangerous because it can suck you all the way down. Does anyone want to guess? Not the people who know the chart, but anyone who doesn't know the chart, what the emotion just above the line that'll draw you up is? Anyone? You can yell it out too. Courage. Ah, yes. It's courage. Thank you. And what more courageous, for those who haven't done it yet and who are thinking about it, and as Kimberly and Danielle said, It is your duty. It is your duty as a leader to be courageous and take the first step to build a personal brand and start posting on behalf of yourself and your business. Because the people that you're going to impact, the people that you're going to support by putting yourself out there, far outweigh the people that you're going to offend or that aren't going to like you. The more we open up, the more we're honest about, hey, this is the real stuff I'm going through. This is the real deep stuff. The more we find we're not alone, the more we find, you know what? There is something more going on. And we're all a part of it. It liberates you. It's cathartic. It attracts people who trust you, who feel like you can empathize with them and you're safe, and ultimately brings in more money. So I'll just leave you with that. In any area of your life where you can find the strength to be courageous with that blog post, with your clients, with your friends, with your family, and say what you really mean. Ask yourself, how do I actually feel in my heart about this situation? How do I have the courage to remove the filter, the people pleasing, this old energy that got stuck in me so long ago? Because once you hit that level of courage, it's a lot easier to go all the way up. Thank you. Do we have time for questions? Questions?
Yeah, ask some questions. Go ahead.
Does anyone? We have time, right?
Yeah.
No,
we have
okay.
time.
Okay.
Yeah,
If anyone has any questions, we have a few minutes. Chad said so.
Yep.
If anyone has the courage.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
First of all, I want to say this was absolutely profound. Let's give another round of applause to you. I love to know, as far as in those first steps, you know, that you took, and when you stepped out on faith and stepped out on courage, how quickly did you recognize, okay, this is the path, I gotta be consistent? And was there any times where you wanted to stop? And then what was the impetus to have you keep going?
So what's really helped me keep going is the messages that I get from people. Like I never get sick of them. You think I would, but because I'm human, right? So there has been times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I put that out there. And people will message, thank you so much. You know, you helped me. I did a post, I quit smoking cannabis. Like, it's just one example. I wrote this article years ago about why I quit smoking cannabis. And like, I still get people messaging me years later. They find it on Google. They're like, thank you so much for putting your story out there. It's helping me quit. And I'm like, thank you for telling me it's helping you, because like, I need that reminder, that kind of loop of like, okay, I'm just going to keep sharing no matter where I am at in the journey. Yes, it will evolve. Yes, it will change. The energy of my blog has changed as I've changed, but I cannot deny that this is what people need, is someone who's just raw and honest, because it inspires other people to do the same. Jason?
That was amazing. You're amazing.
Thank you.
Stand up in front of us and to be able to share that way and challenge all of us to be that raw, to be that honest. My question is more when you're aware of your energy, and your energy is intentional, but then you have those low moments and you're in shame or doubt or fear or uncertainty. Is that when you post? Do you share those things? Because I typically stay towards the higher vibrational moments. And the other times I'm like, this isn't that important. I'll keep this to myself and I'll go do something to shift it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's super interesting. And I honestly don't have all the answers, but I know for sure I have posted a lot in the lower vibrations. And so it's like, ultimately it's your choice. Like, I never tell my clients exactly what to do, and everyone has a different like level of vulnerability, right? Like, I happen to be a very super open, deep woman, like in my day-to-day life. So that's just reflected in my blog. I'm going to be on the more extreme end of like raw content, but it's whatever you're comfortable with. But yeah, I actually think those are the posts that like the same as you said, asked Chris, like those are be the posts I look back on like, what have I done? You know, but those are the posts that get the most messages of people like really like, thank you, you know? So I'd say ultimately the choice is yours, but I do think that there's a lot of power in sharing that because the reality is it's like, we all go through it. And it's just this faulty thinking that we're alone. It's this faulty thinking that it's like, you know, nobody has this problem but me. Nobody has this problem with me. That's not true. Like, there's probably so many people that would be relieved of like, oh my gosh, someone else feels this way. Yes. So that's just what I found through positive reinforcement posting all over these years. And it is kind of funny because I do think in the very beginning when I was down and out and I found LinkedIn, like, I mean, you could literally argue it was just my mental illness that I was posting. So, but then the positive reinforcement was like, oh, this is actually really helping people. I'll be honest. I wasn't really looking to help people. I was trying to help me. Like, I was like, help me, like, get this out of me. But then I saw how impactful it was and how, wait a minute, no one's ever doing this because they're stuck in shame and they're just hiding.
Okay. Right here. Okay. So you said you had some hard times and then you wrote down your prayer and a year later you got $1 million and, you know, your life turned around. And I was like, man, what was her prayer? So my question is, what exactly was your prayer? Kind of like,
Dear God.
Dear God, write this down.
Please send me a sign that things will get better for me. Send me a sign that my life will have purpose and won't be in vain. Please help me feel alive again. So I want to actually, what's your name, hun? Sheeta, thank you for bringing that up. I do want to actually talk about that a little bit. And I was having a conversation with this earlier with my amazingly deep table that I also manifested for breakfast. Thank you guys for the conversation. But it's like prayer, there's many different layers to it. And that's why I love how Chad brought up like the writing, the words, but it's also your energy. Like, are you energetically aligned to call this in right now? Are you actually really feeling deserving of it? Are you actually really feeling? I mean, in that moment, I just knew I had to call it a higher power. I just knew like I'm not going to be stuck in this business forever. I know there's a way out. And then I took the pen to paper. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. A lot of people, you know, they will pray and they write and they don't understand, why am I not manifesting it? It's like maybe you haven't made that energetic shift within you that you're really ready, that you're really going to be strong enough to walk through that door, because it's not going to be easy a lot of times. It was not easy leaving my first company. Oh, I left kicking and screaming all the way with the knots in my stomach and the whole, you know, like a bad breakup. It was like that. I was like, oh, like, so it was hard, but I called it in. I was ready. So yeah, if anyone wants to come up to me after and talk about my different methods for prayer, I would love to dive deeper into that topic, because it's more than just meets the eye, I think, with asking and words. Yes, Jason?
No, God is good. Like what you're saying is, with your question, there's the prayer of Jabez, which I just discovered like a month ago. And I heard about it like 4 months ago. And then I went and read the book. And then I started praying it every day.
What is it? I'm not familiar.
Says,
Can you say it?
God, will you bless me? And will you expand my territory? Will your hand guide me and protect me from harm and keep me from evil? Or protect me from evil and keep me from harm. And it's very, very similar to what you said, but it's an absolute surrender to faith. When you stop putting yourself above God, when you put faith first, things start shifting. I said that prayer. I said, God, put me in front of God. Will you please bless me and put me in front of my ideal clients that I can help, the fathers that need what I'm going through and what I've went through. And the next day I talked to this guy and he goes, I got a bunch of kids. I was like, how many's a bunch of kids? 13. 2 days later, another guy, same name, John. I'm like, John must have a lot of kids. 10 kids. Next week, 13 kids with a woman. I mean, they weren't all hers, but 10 were biological. I'm like, this is insane. So when you start opening yourself to faith,
yeah,
it shifts massively and very quickly.
That actually, the prayer of Jabez.
Yes.
It's a small book. It's a thin book.
It's a Chronicles 2:10. It's a super short part of the entire Bible. But there's a book that the guy writes about it, and he gave up everything, and he's grown like the biggest ministry, like millions and millions of people following this guy that did this. It's powerful.
Yeah. You know, now that you say it, I did have that book years ago. A friend gave me that book a long time ago. I never read it. Perhaps this is my sign to actually read it. But thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
Shay, thank you very much for sharing that with us. So deep. This is so deep. It's amazing. The prayer, the same thing that happened to you. I was so desperate 12 years ago. I prayed to God to give me direction because I didn't know if I had to stay in the mortgage industry or go back to being an engineer because my line of credit was up to my eyeballs and I had to make payments the next month. And he was so crystal clear with me that I had no choice but to follow his faith. But I think it's when you really ask God for help and he needs to give you something, I think what happens with all of us is we want, like we are like little kids, we want to manipulate God to give us what we want. Yeah. So I wanted the right prayer so I can get $1 million tomorrow in my bank account with no taxes. Right? So, and God knows that. I'm similar to a kid who says, Dad, I want the whole ice cream before my meal. You're not going to give it to your kid because you don't want to give to your kid when your kid is persistent enough and when you know it's good for him. That's the way I see it. But my question is, I love that stripping out of the filters. Yeah. Okay? If you can comment on how, because I'm aware of a filter and wow, beautiful, because now you can extract yourself, you go deeper into your own soul, extract yourself and take a better decision. But I would say 9 out of 10 times I'm not aware of my filters.
Yes.
So how do you have any tips on how do you intentional become self-aware of your own filter, because then you own your own solution? Right?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know, I wish I knew, because it is just a natural progression as I get older and go through life that they just start to, I wasn't aware of a lot of them either. I'm still becoming aware of new ones, probably until I die, right? Just like, I think what I said before about recognizing that, like, you're going to have, it's almost like there's so much interference with the way that we're programmed. Like, so you have a filter and then you like have a safeguard that you also built at some point from like preventing you from seeing it as a filter. So you've got to like get through the safeguards, get through the filters, and just like some days over here, mental surgery. It's like exhausting. But yeah, just being radically honest and keeping yourself like in a routine where you have space. Because that's what super busy people are usually doing. They're just not creating space to get there. They're never in silence. You know, some of you who follow me on LinkedIn saw I went to Key West for 2 months this summer. And that was like a huge quantum leap in my consciousness because I had a bad situation. I was breaking down and I was like, okay, you know what? I just got to reset. I'm packing up my SUV, taking my cat, and we're going to go live on this island for the summer. I didn't know why, but I had to get away from all my friends. I had to stop going out. I was like, I'm just going to be on this island, just me and my thoughts. And that's what started happening. I was becoming more and more aware of my filters and the pride, what you said earlier about, you know, I've been a brat, you guys, like straight up. I've fallen off the path many times. I've been on the path and like the enemy's hands, whoosh, like they've been there. So I'm not perfect. And falling off the path is exactly what you said. It's where I fall to pride, map of consciousness. I get sucked down. I'm like on my knees. I did it again. God, forgive me. I'm sorry. And it's just like a muscle you got to build over and over, like walking in faith. It takes time. It takes practice because, as I mentioned, when you're a kid and you have parents who won't allow you to be who you actually are, like that's going to mess with your faith. That's going to mess with your self-esteem, your intuition, and then you get programmed to really not trust God. Because who are your parents when you're that small and influential? They are God, in a sense. So it's okay. Forgive yourself. I know why I got this way. I know why my brain created this filters. It was just a survival mechanism, but it's my responsibility now as the adult to always go back to the path and always go back to the higher self. And the last thing I'll say, advice to your question, is just like, who are the people around you that kind of maybe even like trigger you? could you be honest and dig deeper and say like, well, maybe they're just challenging me and I don't like it, you know? And those can be really great people to actually keep around. It's like a muscle, like, okay, I got to hang out with Dan today. Oh, but then, Dan makes you better because he's the one questioning like, well, why are you really saying that? Do you really mean that? You really do that? People will avoid people like that. Trust me, there's plenty of people who avoid me. And it's like, but those are the people that will help you break down those filters. Israel. Yes.
We have one right here. We have a question right over here.
Yeah, they've got one.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Follow-up question. So once you recognize the filter, did you develop some sort of toolbox,
I know that.
tricks on how to remove the filter, or how do you address that? How do you address the filter to actually remove it? Nothing.
Yeah. Well, I think it's just consciousness, like just becoming conscious of it. It doesn't go away. There's just this really like frustrating in between period where you're just like conscious of your own BS and you just got to like, oh, I'm doing it again. Oh, here it is again. Here it is again. And you just got to keep countering it. Like it's still here. I'm not going to act on it. It's still here. I'm not going to act on it. It's kind of like addiction. If anyone's like recovered from, maybe you're an alcoholic or whatever, it's the same thing. Like the first year might be really hard because you're like willpowering through like, I want to drink, I'm not going to do it. I want to drink, I'm not going to do it. But then eventually it goes away. So just recognize when you're in that period and it's like building the capacity.
Two more, right there and then right there.
Wow. That was absolutely amazing. You totally blew me away. I thought I was coming here to learn about LinkedIn. I got a therapy session, so I was going to lie down. Then I got an inspiration like this was like a revival meeting. And then I was about to take my notes, and I was like, then we went to an AA meeting. I mean, wow. But what I love about what you did was it turned my whole thinking about LinkedIn upside down, like it's some business preaching thing, which nobody wants to hear, which was why you get 3 comments on stuff that you look at and go, I don't really care. And then you start posting stuff and I'm like, wow, you get more than 5 views on these things, which is incredible. And to be vulnerable like that and then go through the list of consciousness, wow, it was worth it just to come to see you because you put, Chad, thank you for bringing her. She really, my God, I was ready to get LinkedIn 101 and I got therapy 507. So do I have a copay from this?
Thank you so much. And and thank you for bringing up Chad. I really want to highlight this man again as a beautiful example of just that. Look at his LinkedIn. He's posting about him. He's posting about what he's excited about. He's posting about McKinley's like 1200 award that she won and all the like, but that's what people like to see. That's relatable. That's what other family men are going to get drawn in and actually reach out. And I just so grateful to this man and another round of applause for this amazing event. Like, thank you. Thank you for bringing me.
Last question.
Oh, there's one more.
I love the way you think and you operate, and I admire that a lot about you. It's really cool. We need more people like you in the world. So I have 2 little quick questions. What age did you attempt or start your first business that you were talking about earlier? And also, if you could go back and put thoughts or advice in your own head at that time of that first attempt, what would you say to yourself?
Thank you for that. So I was 23 when I started my first business. But I did not start it alone. I had a boyfriend who really took me under his wing, and it was the most challenging. Talk about people who challenge you. I mean, it was the most intense, challenging, craziest experience of my life because this was a very difficult person, and I was carrying a lot of unresolved trauma I wasn't aware of, and now I recognize he was just someone to guide me back to that because he didn't always treat me great. But the thing is, there was a lot of good things about him that he made me better. And for years, it was I I struggled to get over it because there was a lot of pain. He did hurt me. I am sensitive. And what I know now, after like 10 years almost since that, is what I would go back and tell myself is, you're right where you need to be. You're right where you need to be, because it's actually taken almost a full decade for another series of events to unfold in my life, which have been just supernatural and magical. And I am in awe of God at what my life has become, that it closed the loop on everything I had to go through with him and my first business, not just because of the business success it brought me. And yes, I eventually started my own company and all the things. I already knew that, but there was like many things now that I'm just realizing like why I had to go through that. So I would go and tell my younger self, I know this is stressful. I know you have doubts about being in this situation right now, but you're exactly where you need to be, because this is an initiation that is absolutely 100% necessary for you to become the woman you need to be for your future husband. And I didn't see that back then. And I see it now. And it's been just this magical experience of being able to close the loop, forgive. And now I can go back and tell her like, okay, you did the right thing. So.
Shay is a powerhouse.
I'm miles above you, don't care what they're seeing below, 'cause I'm miles above